in your book, you made it a clear point as well that he became an informant and that he was working with the government on some level. But
Well,
he was
yeah, throughout his life, Lucky Luciano did, and I pointed out, nobody ever points it out. Everybody wants to put Lucky Luciano on a pedestal. What I do in my book is I call a spade a spade. If you deserve credit, you get credit. If you deserve to get, if something you did is below board, I want to put that in too, and let the reader make opinion about the person. Let the reader decide. You like him, you don't like him. Here's all the facts. So Lucky Luciano was an incredible gangster in the sense that he created the commission. He brought that sort of forward thinking to the mob. He created like the 5 families or helped create them. But whenever he was in a tight spot, he would snitch. And I point that out in the book. I'm not giving him a pass. I had a couple of people go, "Oh man, how do you say that about Lucky Luciano?" How do I say the truth? You don't want me to say the truth? We're going to sweep some of it under the rug. You got to call a spade a spade. If this is what the guy did and the evidence is there, I put it out there. And you make your own judgment. I walked away liking Luciano for all he did, but despising him for every time he ratted. So like, you make your own decision. He did start the mafia. It's almost like if you read a biography about, let's say, George Washington, founding father, first president of the United States, and it's 300 or 400 pages, and everything George Washington ever did was great. If he sneezed, his saliva watered a plant and it grew. Like he never made a mistake, this guy. I want to see a biography that tells me all the good he did and the bad he did. Let me walk away and decide if I like him or not. And that's what I wanted to do in my book. And I did it with each character that I portray in my book. Call a spade, show the person for who they are, and then you could decide. Nobody's perfect. We all know that. Everybody does things. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has, but we have enough evidence there. And it's interesting to put it in. I put it in, let the reader decide.
I see why. I can completely understand why, because you want to have people understand from both sides, the good and the bad, whatever it may be, from working with helping with the government or anything like that. Like, because it is in there. I mean, it's in the past, we have heard all kinds of different things, of course, that have been reported, but I could see why you would want to make that point very clear with each character that you talk about.
And look, Adrian, in one instance, he partners with the government, Luciano does, to save the waterfront during World War II. So that was, to me, a good thing. He partnered with the U.S. Naval Intelligence to secure the waterfront. The waterfront, just to give your listeners a little bit of a backstory here, World War II breaks out, and we're fighting the Japanese on one front and the Germans on the other. And the Germans at some point send Nazi subs to the coast of New York. They're caught off the coast of New York, a couple different submarines. And at some point or another, a ship burns in the port of New York. And the Navy was curious if it was sabotage. And even though they ruled that it wasn't, they wanted to secure the docks because we're sending shiploads of supplies and soldiers to Europe every day. We can't have the ports unsecure. So they approach the mob, knowing the mob controls the waterfront. And the guy they first approached was Joe Sox Lanza, who controlled the South Street Seaport and most of the waterfront. He goes, "Listen, I'll do whatever I could for you, but you got to talk to my boss, Lucky Luciano. He's in jail right now." So the Navy then sets up a meeting with an attorney to talk to Luciano and ask him if he'll give the word to secure the waterfront. And Luciano sends word back to the Navy. It's the least I could do for my country. So even the Italian mafiosos, who obviously every day went out and committed another crime, loved their country because this country, America, gave them the opportunity to be who they were. In another country, they might have been stamped out if it was a tyranny. The tyrant says, "You know what? Kill Lucky Luciano, hang him from the gallows, or chop his head off and throw it in the South Street Sea, by the seaport. Throw his head in there." In America, democracy, laws, protected individual rights. The mafia could get away with a lot. So they love this country. So he said, "I'm happy to protect it. I wouldn't want to be with Mussolini in Italy." That was sort of Germany's ally was the Italians. By then, Mussolini had sided with the German army. And basically the Italian Americans didn't like Mussolini because he was a fascist. And the mob in Italy didn't like Mussolini because Mussolini stamped out the mob in Italy. So, where they were still running things in America. So they did everything they can, the mob did. And I go through that as well during World War II to protect the waterfront and to basically become the roving eyes of the entire eastern seaboard, where they acted like lighthouses. Anything they saw was reported back to them. When the ship captains would come in from sea, they would immediately go talk to the mobsters, who would report back to Joe Sox Lanza, who would tell naval intelligence what he saw out there. So, I mean, that's like sort of like, so that's an instance where when Lucky Luciano did partner with the government, it was for a damn good reason.
Hey, thanks for watching this clip. This clip came from one of my interviews I did in the past. Please hit subscribe if you want to get more clips like this. Also, if you want to watch the full interview, I'll put a link in the description. Or you can hit the button on the screen to watch the full interview.